Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Career Chat Show with me, Yanmo. Oftentimes, we hear about peer pressure. Have you actually been a victim of peer pressure? Have you allowed yourself to let pressure from your peers, your contemporaries, your colleagues get to you? In today's chat show, I'm going to be talking about peer pressure and how you can deal with peer pressure, not necessarily in the workplace or not only in the workplace, but also in life generally. So I have been a victim of peer pressure, and I believe that peer pressure comes as a result of low self-esteem, lack of confidence, and just also wanting to please people. And I know that to be true because I have been in all of these three categories at some point in my life, right? So let me talk about pleasing people first. When you want to please people, you're not necessarily doing it because you're thinking about yourself. You're doing it, when I say thinking about yourself, you're thinking about you wanting people to like you, to embrace you. Therefore, you're allowing what they're doing to put pressure on you, right? The other thing is that when you want to ensure that you are seen beyond what you really are, and because other people are expressing themselves or you're seeing their skills and their value set in a different way, you allow them put pressure on you. And then you also even have just nasty people that will just put pressure on you and tell you that you're not good enough and say all these negative things to you. Now, that said, right, we all, I believe, at some point in our lives, in our work life, or even just in life generally, will experience it. And you could experience it as even bullying. And from school, I was bullied in secondary school. And it wasn't fun. It really wasn't fun, but I really was bullied in secondary school. And for a very long time, I didn't understand why I was bullied in secondary school. But as I grew older, I realized that I became a people pleaser, meaning that I allowed other people to put pressure on me directly or indirectly. Now, the downside to that is you lose your authenticity. The downside to that is you do not understand who you are, you do not understand your value system. Now, the truth is that if you are going to survive in this world, you may go through peer pressure. However, you can actually avoid it or deal with it. I mean, and this is one of the things I want to actually share with you. Now, one of the things that you have to think about is why are you allowing yourself go through this pressure? So, for example, in the workplace, and you may be doing extra work to prove to your team that you're better. You may be doing extra work to prove to your manager or your boss that you're better. I'm an advocate of going above and beyond. I'm an advocate for that, but not to the detriment of yourself. Not to the detriment of the fact that, you're allowing other people put that pressure on you. So if you're going to go over and beyond because of you, because it's something you want to do, it's something that will look good on your CV, on your appraisal, is going to ensure that your team is going to succeed, but not because you're allowing the people in your team or your boss put that pressure on you. I'll give you an example of something that happened to me. When I was starting out my career, there were many things I didn't know how to do. And even though I was learning how to do them, but I was in an environment where there were people that really knew how to do the things that I didn't know how to do. And it wasn't as though they were negative towards me, but because they were more skilled than I was, right? Indirectly, they put that pressure on me. So I felt I wasn't capable of always meeting up. And it was after a while I realized that, listen, everybody starts at zero and you start to grow, right? You start to learn. And it's not on them. It was on me. But I had to really step back and ask myself, why am I feeling this pressure? Having said that, as I said before, you have really nasty people that really will just put the pressure on you, make you feel you're not worth it, make you feel that you do not know what you're doing. And even in life, sometimes you just don't want to hang out with certain people, but you have those friends or you have those people in your circle of influence, yeah, that are always in your ear and telling you, oh, you should come out with us, oh, you should hang with us, you should do this with us. And the truth is you genuinely don't want to do it. But because you do not want to be seen as the odd one out, because you don't want to be given a negative name, what happens is you conform, right? And you go you go with it, meaning you're allowing them put pressure on you. So how can we ensure that we deal with peer pressure? Number one, you have to know your values. You have to know your values. And what do I mean by you have to know your values? Not wait, everyone is so different. We're wired differently. Our core values are so different. It does not mean that because you have friends or you're in relationships with people that you all have to have similar values, but you have to understand what your own core values are. So for example, if family is one of your core values and your friends always like to hang out and go out all of the time, but you want to stay home with your family, then you're going to have to find a way of saying that, you're not able to hang out with them at this point in time. So you have to understand what your own values are and own your values. Do not apologize for your values at all. They are your guiding principles. They are your moral beliefs. So don't apologize for your values whatsoever. The other thing is you have to also be confident in the choices that you make. What do I mean by that? If you are going to do a particular thing, right, it doesn't matter whether it's popular or it's unpopular, as long as it is lawful, it's ethical, and it's moral. Some people may not agree with you, and that's absolutely fine. We're not all supposed to agree with one another, right? That's the whole essence of life. Variety makes, variety is the spice of life, as it's said. So, but you have to be very confident in the choices that you make for yourself, not for any other person, but for yourself. The other thing is you want to think about the consequences. So for example, I gave the example of, going out with your friends when you don't really want to go out with your friends. So if you went out with your friends and you have, children and you want to spend some time with your children, you have to think about the consequences. If you went out with your friends, you're not going to have the time to spend with your children. So think about the consequences before you allow the peer pressure gets to you, or before you make a decision when there's peer pressure around you, even in the workplace. And there are times that I've had to work really, really, really late, and at that time I really wasn't thinking about my family. I really wasn't thinking about the consequence, right? I was just willing to do what needed to be done because I really wanted to please my boss. I wanted to please my team members and everything. And honestly, it just didn't end up well at all. Story for another day. Anyway, so think about the consequences. And then I want you to also start reflecting, right? Introspection. Think about what you really want. And when you're feeling that pressure, that's the time for you to withdraw, take a step back and say, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? What exactly isn't right? Because there's an imbalance somewhere. This is why it's called pressure, right? But the pressure is coming from your peers. The pressure is coming from your colleagues. So introspect and think about why you're feeling the way you're feeling, and when you're able to zero down on that particular reason why you're feeling it, then you can actually eliminate it or do something about it. And then the other thing I was going to say is that, and it ties into values as well. You really need to be authentic. And I don't mean being authentic in a lousy way, right? Being authentic in a confident, humble way, and just knowing that this doesn't work for me and this is what works for me and this is who I am, and be congruent with that. Okay? So peer pressure, I believe that every one of us at some point will go through it. Even if you're a business person, you may feel the pressure from your competitors. At some point you will go through it. But it's really how you deal with it. And more importantly, if it's peer pressure from, your friends, your family, or your work colleagues, listen, as you get older, as you mature, as you become more confident, as your skill sets grow, you shouldn't allow people to put pressure on you. Let me even tell you something that happened very as recent as yesterday. Someone sent me an email, an agency sent me an email regarding a role. And I just looked at the role and I thought, you know what, I'm not that interested anyway. But I just decided I would have this conversation via email with this individual. And I said the individual was insisting that he wanted to have a conversation with me, and I just wouldn't buckle under that pressure. Instead, I said, these are the things that I would require to be in place if we're going to have a conversation. And guess what? He said, fine. right? So what rates I would want, what the job was about, everything. So what I'm saying is that, years ago, I probably wouldn't have had the confidence to do that. But I'm now in a place where I can tell you, these are the things I'm looking for. These are the things I want. Before I'm even going to get on the phone to you. Now, was he putting pressure on me? 100%. He was putting pressure on me and he was saying, let's go on a call, let's go on a call, let's go on a call. No, I'm not going to go on a call with you. So it's the same kind of thing, right? You have to understand your values, be confident in the choices and the decisions that you make, but also know that you don't have to say yes and you don't have to be everywhere at all times and just allow people walk all over you. You are in charge of yourself. Remember, you are the CEO of your career, of your life. So be in charge and do not allow people put pressure on you. If you enjoyed today's show, kindly hit the subscribe button below, hit the bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new show onto the platform. And if you have anything at all to add to the conversation, leave a comment below and let me know. I will definitely get back to you. Until the next show, do not allow anyone put pressure on you. You take care and God bless you. Bye.